Take a look at this. Congressman George Santos leaving the federal courthouse there in Central Islip, New York, after pleading not guilty to a long list of federal fraud charges. We're waiting to see if he might address the press. Lana, a lot of press there trying to get answers from him.
Quite the scrum. People shouting questions at him about the accusations. And then just now we have seen him. He was making his way out, and it looks like he's stopping. Let's listen and see if he's saying something.
Today we're going to have the opportunity.
Go ahead, Congressman. There's a podium.
There's no go to the podium.
Yeah, can we?
Jody, where's the
you guys let him go to the podium.
Let's go to the podium.
Make a hole. Make a hole.
Let him through.
Look, if you guys don't behave, there's no way you're going to get information back to the people. So if you make way and act like, civilized people, I know you all are. I know a lot of you by first name. We talk all the time. Let's get to the podium, make some space, and then we'll address. Can you all agree? Make some space.
Make space.
There you go. Look at that. I'll address you guys, but let's get to the podium.
All right, go.
Come on. Let's move over to the podium.
Everyone can ask questions. Let's just hold the questions there.
Hey, Jody, how are you? When's this New York pick up?
Right over there.
I didn't have a pink sweater. Sorry.
Keep moving.
Excuse me.
You're not deterred, George?
Oh, damn.
Pardon me. You guys should go position yourself at the podium.
Watch out for
I'm more concerned about the bad check you wrote for the puppies in Lancaster.
Anything you want to say about that?
Go to the right of the stage. You haven't been charged with that.
People in your area?
What about the bad check in Lancaster, Pennsylvania?
The podium's right there.
All right,
There's a podium.
So we see the Congressman, George Santos, addressing that big group, which includes press, but it also includes, as we've seen, protesters. We saw that sign that said lies. He asked for people to be civil so that he could actually address the public in a civilized manner. It looks like he is now at that podium. Let's listen to him.
For me to come out and talk to you guys. Look, this is the beginning of the ability for me to address and defend myself. We have an indictment. We have the information that the government wants to come after me on, and I'm going to comply. I've been complying throughout this entire process. I have no desire not to comply at this point. They've been gracious in there. Now I'm going to have to go and fight to defend myself. The reality is it's a witch hunt, because it makes no sense that in 4 months, 5 months, I'm indicted. You have Joe Biden's entire family receiving deposits from nine family members receiving money from foreign destinations into their bank accounts. It's been years of exposing. A lot of you here have reported on them, and yet no investigation is launched into them. I'm going to fight. I'm getting back to that. I'm going to fight my battle. I'm going to deliver. I'm going to fight the witch hunt. I'm going to take care of clearing my name, and I look forward to doing that. Hold on.
You took the money and bought designer clothes. What do you say to that?
I would like the opportunity for some of you guys to ask some questions in an orderly fashion, and we'll start right here.
Congressman George Santos, why would you apply for unemployment benefits when you had a job making $120,000 a year?
Rachel, this is part of my defense. This is accurate information, and I will get to clear my name on this. During the pandemic, it wasn't very clear. I don't understand where the government's getting their information, but I will present my facts.
Prosecutors say that you got over $20,000 in unemployment benefits, sir. How is that acceptable?
Ma'am, like I said, my employment was changed during the time. I don't understand where the government's coming from. I'll present my defense.
And one last follow-up, Congressman George Santos.
What evidence do you have that they don't have? Because it's extensive.
I have plenty of evidence that we will now be sharing with the government in this case to make sure that I
Are you planning on running for re-election?
Yes, I am.
Do you think you'll win re-election?
Why should anybody believe you now?
Well, like I said, I will prove myself innocent, and then we'll move from there. And re-election is a very hard time to wait.
Congressman, can you share your...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry for blocking the $750,000. They said you reported that wrongly. Do you have any comment to that?
Well, like I said, I will be giving them delivering all the finances of my company. I'm delivering all my finances to them to dispel their accusation against me.
And again, you will not resign.
I will not resign.
Congressman, did you take campaign donations and use that money to buy expensive suits?
No, I did not.
Do you think you'll win re-election?
that's not up for me to know. Elections are very tricky, and it's up to the people. I trust them to decide what's best for them.
Congressman, you've been lying in the past. What do you think will make people believe you this time around?
Well, look, like I said, I've asked many times. I want to be judged by the work I do in the body, and I stay committed to that.
Mr. Santos, are you headed to Washington now?
Yes, I am. I have to go back and vote. Tomorrow we have one of the most consequential votes in this Congress, which is a border bill, and I'm very looking forward to being there to vote on it.
What would you say to the Speaker right now?
Well, I'm not going to address just the Speaker. I'll address leadership. I appreciate everybody's patience with my presence in Congress. As you know, the media has its ways of doing things, and I respect you guys. I've maintained good rapport with a lot of you guys. I've spoken with a lot of you guys, and I have the intention to continuing that open door. Some of you who are from the Hill know how to find me. Some of you here from the district don't have a hard time finding me. It's about keeping in line of communication. So I appreciate leadership for being patient at this time and for allowing the process to play out. I think this is about innocent until proven guilty. This starts. I have my right to fight to prove my innocence, as the government has the right to fight to try to find me guilty in whatever charges.
Congressman, how do you pay for those $25,000?
Until now, because you're being accused for alone.
Well, because the media is not jury or the judge, so I will present that to the jurors and to the judge in this courthouse.
And to the Congress.
Well, if Congress requests it, I will present it to them as well.
So are you vowing to go to trial? You won't negotiate a plea?
I'm feeling, look, it's hard.
Look at somebody.
Yes, thank you.
I'm addressing one of your colleagues here. I don't want to give the backup. So, as usual, Jody, I do my best to be a positive person. Life is already as bad as it gets.
His lips are moving.
So I'm fine. I'm good. I believe I'm innocent.
How can you
Congressman, yourself with so many investigations and accusations?
Well, look, the way I look at it, I'll be a chairman of a committee in a couple of years if you just look at the standards of Congress. Look at the Senate.
Congressman.
Is there a bill that helps states recoup COVID money, yet you're being alleged that...
Well, it's alleged, right? So are you accusing me, or are you going to allow the process to play itself and allow me to clear my name? That's my question.
Congressman.
Is there a bill that helps states recoup COVID money, yet you're being alleged that...
Well, it's alleged, right? So are you accusing me, or are you going to allow the process to play itself and allow me to clear my name? That's my question to you.
Did you first learn about the charges against you, and also can you talk about the process of surrender? Did they arrest you?
No, it was very amicable, very peaceful. These guys did a phenomenal job. We clearly came right under your noses, and you didn't see us come in today. And now we're leaving, obviously. We're addressing you guys. Had all the intention in the world to be out here with you guys. I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep fighting for what I believe in. I'm going to keep fighting to represent my district. I'm going to keep fighting to deliver results. And now I have to keep fighting to deliver, to defend my innocence. And I'm going to do that.
Governor Hochul today said you should resign and put your district out of its misery. Will you do that?
Governor Hochul is entitled to her opinion. I don't represent her. She is not my constituent, so...
I saw your face in court today. I saw your face in court today. I saw your face. You looked...
Go ahead.
You looked pretty stressed. When I saw you sit down and the judge first started speaking, what was going through your mind? What are you feeling after being in court today?
Well, when it's your first time in experiencing something of this nature, I think everybody would show some kind of stress, right? I quite frankly don't believe I was stressed. I did the best I could to just keep my composure. I was fine. But again, this has been an experience, for a book or something like that. So anyway, I appreciate you guys. Here's what we'll do. I will, guys. I will. You see. That is information you'll never get, because that is the media's. Your intention is to go harass them and make their life miserable. You're not getting that. All right,
George, where's your husband?
Republican Congressman George Santos there, defiant, saying he will keep fighting. He's going to he says he's innocent. He's pleaded not guilty to these federal charges of multiple fraudulent allegations as far as how he used his money. And what you saw there was just a gathering of press and protesters. He made an effort to answer some questions, but the point being that he is planning to run for re-election and he's fighting the charges against him.
Yes, he said definitively, I will not resign, even as he pleads not guilty to federal crimes, including fraud, money laundering, theft of public funds, and making false statements. We continue to follow all of this. Our Caitlin Huey-Burns was there. We're also joined right now by CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane here in Studio 57. Scott, were you surprised at all by anything that you heard? I think for some people, actually hearing him say not only will he not resign, but that he intends to run for re-election and that in a few years he intends to be chairman of his committee, that I think was not anything that anyone was necessarily expecting Santos to say today.
Really emphasized that too, didn't he? That I'm running for re-election, I'm not resigning, I'm going to be chairing a committee in a few years, making clear his political intentions at a time when he likely knows his party needs his vote. And if he were to resign his seat, it's no guarantee Republicans would keep that seat. But let's put that aside. You asked me if anything was surprising. Any federal criminal defendant on the day of an initial appearance in court speaking extemporaneously with reporters is surprising. It's dangerous. It's usually not a defense lawyer's first piece of advice. In fact, it's often a defense lawyer's first warning. Don't do that, because you're going to complicate your defense moving forward and you might antagonize the U.S. Justice Department in the process. This could be our first indication of how George Santos, this sitting congressman charged with a federal set of crimes, intends to defend himself in what we can call, I think, fairly a Trumpian manner, where he uses the phrase witch hunt, and he says he expects it to make him stronger. That is a Trumpian notion in its essence.
You also remarked as we were watching this footage that his congressional aide was with him, trying to keep the crowd back, trying to maintain...
That's him right there behind Mr. Santos in that light blue coat.
Shiny suit, trying to maintain some sense of order here. But he was asked very pointed questions about the allegations against him, that he filed for unemployment benefits during the pandemic. He responded that his employment situation was unclear, and he said the rules weren't clear. He is offering some pieces of his defense here, and also saying that he wants to provide evidence. He was asked on that, what evidence do you have that the government doesn't have? I think that may have been our reporter who asked him. He didn't answer that question clearly. What do you make of his responses to the specific charges?
I wonder the comfort level of his defense attorney answering granular questions about the accusations just made by a federal prosecutor. But yeah, he seems to be giving a forecast. He seems to be foreshadowing where he's going with his defense. But let's think about the time frame here. His next court appearance in this case is June 30th. That's the next appearance. Anything moving toward trial, moving towards discovery, is likely months, if not years away. He has about 19 months remaining on his term in Congress, maybe 20 months. This is going to span well beyond his congressional term if it goes all the way as many federal criminal cases do. So we'll see how long he continues to make bold or outward statements in front of the media. It's just not the muscle memory of those of us who cover federal criminal cases to hear a defendant walk out of the court and talk about his case. In one addition, you heard a lot of other voices coming from that scrum. There were likely, if not certainly, some non-media voices answering him some questions. When we go to these courthouse hearings for January 6 defendants, when we were there for Trump and his case in Manhattan, there were any number of activists and protests there who will scream out questions at attorneys or at parties. They were mixed in to the media there, and I wanted to make that clear because you heard some pretty loud, vitriolic voices.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, too, because Congressman Santos continued to say to a lot of those, are you accusing me, or will you allow the process to play out? To follow on a thread that you laid out there, Scott, he said he is leaving now, headed to D.C. to vote on the border bill. It goes to how important not just this case is, but what's happening in Washington right now. Tell us a little bit more about any potential complications that this has for the ability of Congress to actually do their work.
Now that he's been released under release conditions, he should be able to get to and from Washington, D.C. freely. He should be able to vote whenever he wants to vote, be there whenever he needs to be there. He'll be permitted to travel in Washington, D.C. and around his home district in New York. He may need court permission to go anywhere else, but he can keep doing his job. His vote is paramount in the U.S. House. Republicans have this narrow, almost untenable 4-seat majority. Any missing vote hurts them. There was 1 vote margin in that debt ceiling vote they took a few weeks ago. The border security bill he referenced, which is likely going for a vote tomorrow, is going to be another one of those razor's edge narrow votes. They're going to need him there if they want to pass this high priority piece of legislation. His absence would be notorious and counterproductive for Republican initiatives. They need him in place.
And just before we wrap this up, Scott, I mean, best case scenario, you know, he's found innocent and cleared of these charges. What's the worst case scenario?
Conviction to a federal crime brings about a whole series of problems, not the least of which is the prospect of prison time and a hefty fine. But also, the sentencing process the federal government uses is laborious. It takes time. Federal defendants aren't sentenced sometimes for half a year to a year after a guilty plea or a conviction. This is something you measure in years, not days and weeks.
All right.
Great to have you with us on that brand new moment there from George Santos, as defiant as ever. Scott MacFarlane, thank you very much.